All right, we are back with another episode of the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. This time, we are finally doing part 2 of our SNES 30th anniversary celebration. But before we get to that, I'm CMM. Hi, it's me. And today I have...
Not Muffin.
Not
Uh,
Muffin.
he decided not to come back for the Super Nintendo, so James is here.
Yep. And then we do also have a special guest today, and who might you be?
Hey, it's Tender, here to talk about SNES games,
But especially Maximum Carnage,
especially
as
Maximum
we've been
Carnage.
talking. Yeah,
Surrounded
so...
by Spider-Man all night.
Yeah. So we promised a part 2 of this. It's been kind of a little bit since we did our first episode. It's technically not the SNES's 30th anniversary anymore, but it's close enough. There's a lot of great stuff on SNES, and we kind of wanted to talk about more since last time it was only Muffin and me, and we basically covered like Kirby, and like that was about it. So I guess since Tender, you're our guest today, you can start.
Yeah,
Put you on the spot.
absolutely. SNES is really close to my heart. I'll probably start here by talking about a game I played through recently, which is Chrono Trigger, right? So this is not a secret game to most people, but I played through it recently, and it was just as magical as I remember playing it as a kid. And it's really hard to describe this game. It's just back in the day, JRPGs were 20 hours, all killer, no filler, and this is one of them. And it's just a great game. Back in the day, I never actually owned the cart, but I would go down to this like budget video store down the street and rent it from a place called Mega Video, real sketchy place.
Wow.
And so I would rent it I think I rented it probably like three to five times, something like that. And sometimes my save would still be there, and sometimes it would be somebody else's random save. But
Hey, that's just a randomizer, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
I never got very
You're
far.
years ahead.
I never got very far, but I always loved it. And then had a couple of bad experiences with it when it came out. Was it Final Fantasy Chronicles? I think on
Mystic Quest?
no, Final Fantasy Chronicles on PlayStation that had Chrono Trigger on it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it would load every time you walked into a room.
It wasn't just that. There was like a solid like one of the great things about Chrono Trigger was it didn't have random battles, right?
Right.
Like it had on-screen encounters, which was kind of crazy for JRPGs at the time. But when you'd get into a fight on the Super Nintendo, it was pretty seamless. Like the fight would just start. On
Right.
the PS1, it's like you touch the enemy, and it's like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, fight starts.
It would literally
They were, like,
pause the
loading-
music and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was loading times for everything. It was crazy.
That was like, that reminds me of like playing like MK3 on like Super Nintendo, and it was,
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it wasn't pretty, but like, you just went from fight to fight, and then you have like MK Trilogy, and it's like, on PS1.
PlayStation.
Yeah, and it's like next fight, and you're like sitting on the tower screen for like 10 seconds.
No,
like,
no, it was even worse. Like there was a couple. Sorry, this is a side. That's obviously a sidetrack, but it just has to be called out because it's really funny. And in that game, anytime you play as Shang Tsung,
Yes.
and you change into another character, it reads off the disc and loads.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's awful. Like Shang Tsung's morph times you're just like the whole fight would just stop.
It's literally like the Chrono Trigger battle load times, but every time Shang Tsung like does a move.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
A banned character.
So with Chrono Trigger, they did also end up porting that to the DS later, which
Yes.
I hear is a good version of that game as well.
And I think that's where I rekindled my love of it. I got that version like the day it came out. Has anime cutscenes in it, the same ones that were in the PlayStation version, but
Oh yeah,
you just didn't get to see a lot of them because it was impossible to play because it was so horrible with all the loading times. It had those same things. It had a couple. It had actually added like additional items, and it had like a kind of like a tracking system for your new game plus to see track all the endings you got and everything, almost
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
almost like an achievement system and things like that. So that's where it kind of rekindled it for me. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. But like this past month when I replayed it, I played it. I played the cart. I got a cart, and I played it on a Super NT.
Yes.
Yeah, through FPGA, and it was awesome. I had a great time, and I'm really looking forward to actually jumping in and messing around and getting some of the other endings. But like, yeah, it was just an incredible experience to go back to it. Like everything you remember, just like great pixel art, great music. Like James said, when you get in the battles, it's all seamless. You can see all the enemies on the screen. The battle system is great. You have all the double text and the triple text. They're all just like very intuitively, put into the game. Where this guy has a sword and this guy casts ice, so together they will do the ice sword, and
Yeah.
if they get. Whereas I think for those who have played Chrono Cross, the follow up, that piece was a lot lacking in that game as far as like all the different texts that you can mix up. It didn't really have as much, even though it had way more characters. But yeah, I just had like a really, really great time with it. Really emotional, great story, great characters. Ironically, the worst character in the game is Chrono. He's just like I don't know.
It's like an anime self-insert type blank slate type of
Exactly.
character, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Exactly.
have that frog. He's dressed
Yeah.
up in the armor. Like, what more do you need?
Yeah, you got like the frog guy, you got the robot guy, you got
Yeah.
the lady from the past, you got everything you need. You got the villain who's really a hero. It's like you got everything you need.
The
Yeah.
so I have not played Chrono Trigger because RPGs and I don't get along. But if I remember correctly, you can, if you want to, you can attempt the final boss kind of whenever, right? You'll just get annihilated. Is that the idea?
Yes, more so in like New Game Plus. Like there's definitely times you can go face off against him. There's a place called like the End of Time where there's like a bucket, you can go fight him. But in New Game, like the first time you play through it, yeah, you're gonna get wasted no matter what. New Game Plus adds a additional place that you can fight him in the first fair that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at any point in the game, you can just go back to this fair and fight him, and it'll give you like a different ending.
That's cool. That's fun. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the endings are really fun. They're really goofy. Like some of them are like, it made me think of, even as a game that came out way later, like Near Automata, where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like some of them are just like real dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like it's just like you be and some of them are real cool. Like there's a whole subplot with Frog and Magus, where Magus turned him into Frog and this and that, and you can get this whole ending where they like go on a solo duel, and it's really cool. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
But
There's
then
a
some of
lot
them
of
are really silly.
personality.
Some of them are really silly, where it's like, oh, this reptilian race from the past, like took over the world, and so now everybody's a reptile, and
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, that's some John Carpenter shit.
yeah, it's great. There's just like a lot of great, really like silly, whimsical stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, it's a very charming game. It kind of reminds me of Dragon Quest in the way that it vibes, where it doesn't take itself like completely seriously all the time.
The Toriyama vibe. There you go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't even gonna. Obviously, the
Yeah.
artist is the same. Everybody looks like a Goku, but
Yeah, exactly.
So, James, since I'm in charge, what is your first pick?
okay. So y'all went to the jungle in that first episode, but
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong Donkey Kong game, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be the favorite. Like I guess Muffin did have that cute story about how that dog ate it.
It.
And
Yeah.
he ended up with it still, or whatever.
He
But-
showed me it. He showed me that cartridge. It's so.
and I get that
Right.
aquatic ambience is good. It's a good song, but dude, Sticker Bush Symphony.
Yeah. So,
Hell
what
yeah.
game are we
Come on.
talking about for
Donkey
anyone
Kong
who might
Country
not
2.
know?
Donkey
Okay.
Kong Country 2.
Yes.
This is like It's one of my favorite platformers of all time. It's probably tied with Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
Maybe just above like Mario 3, but like I don't know. They're like basically the same thing in my eyes. They're basically perfect at what they do. DKC2 took everything that DKC1 did right and amplified it, and took everything that it did wrong and basically got rid of it.
And added Dixie Kong, most importantly.
Yeah, I mean, Dixie's cool. Dixie's definitely cool, and she's more useful than Donkey Kong, but it's still more fun to play as Diddy. Because he's so fast.
He's fast,
so
that's true.
fast.
That's true. But gliding ponytail hair is kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for, like, beating levels, for sure. It's definitely an easier way to play the game and a more, like, friendly... It's cool that she's there so that you can play the game in that way and still get through everything.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's like, once you're good at those levels and you have the timing down...
Yeah.
The amount of, like, just distance you can cover by cartwheeling off of a ledge as Diddy Kong and then jumping is insane. And if you have a little bit more momentum built up from hitting a couple enemies, it's like even crazier.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something I really like in Donkey Kong Country.
It's just so fun to do.
Yeah, it's like those lines of rats that you see or whatever. I know Donkey Kong Country 3 has those lines of rats too, but it's just so satisfying.
The music is a step up.
Yeah,
for sure.
In every single way. And every song on that soundtrack is extremely good, and a lot of them are underrated. Like, people should listen to the Swamp song more.
Yeah, Bayou Boogie's great.
Bayou Boogie, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The In a Snowbound Land is really good.
Yeah.
Lockjaw's Descent or whatever.
Yes.
I forget what the name of that song is. It's also really good. I just had... They got rid of Candy Kong. Like, nobody... Or Candy? That's her name, right?
Yeah, Candy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I had, like, a moment there where I was like, did I... Like, she was gone from my brain. It was great. Okay, I got rid of Candy Kong, which is perfect.
My mom really liked Candy Kong. I'm sure she was sad.
You definitely didn't have a moment, because in my brain... Candy Kong was invented for like Donkey Kong 64, and then I went back and replayed like Donkey Kong Country 1, and I'm like, whoa,
Well, she's very like
the save point,
classic,
right? Or something,
kind of like Baywatchy in Donkey Kong Country 1, and then DK64, she's just boobs.
Yeah, big hairy gorilla. Anyway,
it doesn't surprise me though that you prefer playing Diddy Kong, since the subtitle of this game is Diddy Kong's Quest. Right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely not Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah. I always forget where the apostrophe goes.
I don't.
It's a genius name.
You always have to think it's the pun, you know.
Yeah. Well, I always think of the pun too, but.
But yeah, the game is basically. I have very few complaints. It's basically perfect.
Well, the new Animal Friends are fun too. That's another thing I think.
Yeah, they got rid of Animal Friends that didn't really work. Took the idea, like the snake replaced the frog.
Yeah.
And I love Winky. It's a cute frog, but it's very hard.
He was terrible.
Very hard to play.
He's very hard.
And she's in the worst levels.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to play her on this like weird cave scaffolding level.
Man, I always thought Winky was a boy. Is Winky a girl?
I'm pretty sure Winky's a girl.
Damn, my worldview just got shattered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my Donkey Kong canon is ruined. No, I'm kidding. I can't believe this.
I'll somewhat age myself here, but this was the first game, at least I can remember, where I looked up on like Game Facts when I had like America Online to find out where like some of the like secrets were to get like is it 205%? Is that the max?
I think it's 202
or 202.
It's something silly, yeah.
It's 105 and 3.
And so in the age before YouTube or anything like that, literally reading like text descriptions of how you find some of the secrets.
Yeah.
Well, it was important to, right? Because in Donkey Kong Country 1, it didn't really matter if you found all the secrets or not.
Yeah, they were mostly just like bonus rooms with extra bananas and limes.
Well, yeah, it's like the only difference was I think that if you have all of the bonus rooms in a level, the little Donkey Kong face on the level will talk. Or not talk, but it'll move its lips instead of having a stationary mouth. In DKC2, it actually mattered. You wanted to get all of the bonus coins because they unlocked other levels
Yes.
that were
Yeah.
very hard. Some of them
Yes.
suck. The Animal
Yes.
Buddy one can go to hell.
was
So
waiting
maybe
for
you
that.
didn't want. Maybe you didn't want to unlock those levels. I don't know. But you definitely wanted to get all the DK coins so that
Yep.
Cranky would say that you're cooler than
Yep.
Link, Mario, and Yoshi.
And Earthworm Jim.
Well, no,
Oh,
Earthworm Jim and Sonic are down there, and it says no hopers, so they didn't
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
shot to
But you're
begin
still,
with.
but you're still cooler than them. Yeah.
You're
It's just
cooler
like the
than them
boots
by
and the gun,
default.
right? It's like the boots and the gun are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of Sonic, I'm not a huge fan of Sonic.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah, nobody. I actually think that DKC 2, especially 2, but also kind of the first one, they're kind of what I would have wanted out of a Sonic game.
I was hoping this is what you would say.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for it. DKC2, something that endlessly fascinates me about DKC2 is that they made that game in a year.
Holy shit.
Like,
Yeah.
because Donkey Kong Country 1 was 94, and then Country 2 is 95.
And then Kong 3 is 96, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like one after the other.
Well, Kong 3 was a different team. Most of
Yeah.
the people who made Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 were like working on Banjo-Kazooie, I think.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
fair enough,
But-
but we're still talking about a time when Donkey Kong Country was an annual series.
That brief moment in reality.
Yeah.
I just want to say my biggest like E3 meltdown like in real life, like actually like being like what like kind like being at a loss for words, but also kind of screaming, was when Reggie walked out and the Donkey Kong Country music started playing behind
Oh,
him
God,
when
yeah.
they announced returns.
Hell yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was actually flipping out. That's maybe
Yeah,
the
I
only
was
time
too.
I've ever like audibly flipped out about something. That series is good.
I was flipping out too. I was so happy.
Anyway,
And you know, something else about Donkey Kong Country 2 that I don't think gets necessarily enough credit is the world of Donkey Kong Country 2 is very unique. Crocodile Isle is just very compelling, and I think it works very well as a sequel because, like, you know, the first game is just DK's island being invaded, and the second game you go to the bad guy's turf, and you know it's this like very strange like mixture of themes and areas. It's like there's volcanoes and swamps and a freaking carnival or theme park or whatever.
I've never thought about that, but you're right. It's very funny that like the Donkey Kong family goes to take the fight to them because
Yeah,
the game literally starts on the ship,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pirate ship that you fight K. Rool on at the end
Yep.
of DKC 1. It's like that's what it's supposed to be or whatever. They're both called Gangplank Galleon.
yeah. I think
And,
it's
um,
the Gangplank Galleon 2 or something. I forget if it's the exact same thing, but
I think
basically
it's
they
the same
tethered.
thing.
It probably is. They tethered the boat to the island pretty much. It's pretty
But it's
much
like-
what it is.
Yeah, like they get over there and then they're like they get through that and they're like okay whatever and then like they get through these weird lava caverns and then it's a swamp and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden they show up to a fucking carnival that's just full of bees and it's like yeah you're right I never really and then they go to like a haunted forest.
Yep. And then
And
it's like
it's-
and then it's like a castle with like ice.
Yeah, no, it is a very unique place and then that
It's
volcano
cool.
has like weird energy coming out of it.
Yeah, the Lost
crocodile
World
face.
is like its own weird thing.
Yeah,
for
I've
anyone
always
who doesn't know, the Lost World is like the bonus levels that you unlock. It's like a separate like world.
I'm
And
sure
that's
there's
weird too.
I'm sure there's no lore for it at all, but the Lost
Yeah.
World is so weird.
I always think
Like-
Jurassic Park every single
Yeah.
time because just the name alone, but the look of the map too. Like I
Going to
kind of
San
think Jurassic
Diego.
Park.
And the final boss arena when you fight him in the volcano and it's got those golden Kremling statues. Like, what is
Yes.
this place?
Yeah.
And yeah, so like the progression of Donkey Kong Country 2 and like the world of Crocodile Isle is so damn cool. And I think it's also really fun because well, that might be I don't know. It's been 30 years, I'm spoiling it. When you get the actual ending of the game, the island sinks. Like it's destroyed. Like Donkey Kong Samus Aran's the fucking like Crocodile Isle.
Well, that's why in Donkey Kong 64 he has the new
Yeah, he has the
fully
new
mechanical island.
he has the new and unimproved island. But the coolest thing too is the fake out in Donkey Kong Country 2 when you get to the tower to fight K. Rool, and you find Donkey Kong, and then he just gets like yeeted, and you have to go to the flying croc,
Yeah.
which is super cool. Like King K. Rool has an airship. Let's go.
Yeah.
You gotta race this fucking parrot to get there.
Yeah, for some reason.
What is Screech's sprint? What a weird level.
Yeah,
It's fun
Screech
though.
is, yeah, it's Screech is wild, dude. I that whole game is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I
For
think it's hilarious that you kill the first boss and then you fight him again as a ghost. That is the funniest thing to me.
Yeah, no, it is very good. That boss sucks.
Yeah,
I
creepy
think
crow.
yeah, I think it's cool that they recontextualized minecart levels
Mm,
into roller coaster levels,
hell yeah.
yeah.
and then decided to put one of those roller coasters in a haunted library where a giant skeleton of a crocodile chases you.
So it's
It's a
wild.
good game. It's a good game,
It's great.
and it has one of the greatest soundtracks of all time.
Yeah.
Period.
For as much praise that Tropical Freeze rightly gets for having like levels that are tied into the environments and stuff like that, like Donkey Kong Country 2 definitely set that, that vibe way ahead of time, and I think a lot of people forget it, but um that those rare games also had that same vibe, and Country 2 is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a must play. And
Yeah.
it's on Nintendo Switch Online, so if you pay for that, you probably do, and you can play it on there.
Absolutely.
It's on the
But,
cheap one too.
Yeah, it's on the cheap one too. You don't
cheap
need to worry about N64 expansion pack or
It
whatever.
is one of the best games on that service.
It's
yeah,
one of the
no
best
doubt.
games of all time.
It's fantastic. And then there's a game that's not on Nintendo Switch Online, which is Hyperzone. I don't know if anyone else here has played Hyperzone.
This
Oh,
sounds
man.
like a Clay game to me.
I don't think I have actually.
So this is by HAL. It is a shooter. It's a Mode 7 shooter. And like the ceiling and the ground are like kind of like the same like texture scrolling by.
Okay.
It's a pretty basic shooter, honestly. It's very fun, but it's pretty basic. You're just kind of dodging things and shooting. Like there's nothing crazy going on. There's these strips that if you hover over them, like will kind of recover your health, like F-Zero, and like strips that if you drive over them will decrease your health. But it's got this weird, funny sense of style. Like it's just this very like techno sort of like thing. And something that is kind of weird about it is that most of the times when you beat a stage, your ship changes in the next level. Like you see your old one at the beginning, and you see yourself getting into the new one, and it has like a different like UI and like sometimes like handles or shoots differently. It's just a very fun, simple shooter from HAL, and it is also the reason why the final area in Kirby Dream Land 3 is called Hyperzone. It is the namesake.
I just pulled up a muted, YouTube video of this just to look at it, and
Yeah.
I am constantly amazed by how well documented things like the Super Nintendo library are. And I've never
Yeah.
heard of this game in my life. I've never heard I've never heard anybody talk about it, and I'm looking at it and it literally does. It looks like F-Zero, and with like a mirrored F-Zero track above it, but also kind of like what's the Sega game where you
Space Harrier.
like like Space Harrier, exactly.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool. Like in I have the SNES FX cart or whatever, the ROM cart. I think I'm gonna try this game out because this looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a cool soundtrack. I mean, it's HAL. You can't really go wrong. It's not easy either. I want to say it's like maybe 8 stages long, and by the time you get to like stage 4, if you're like new to the game, you're probably in game over territory. And it's funny because I didn't know this game existed for a long time either, and I found it at my old work, like it was before I started working there, but it was like $8 or something, and I was like, this is
Nice.
interesting. Oh, it's HAL. All right, whatever. We'll try it, and it's actually really cool. Like it's a cute little game. I wouldn't go in expecting the world,
Right.
but it's definitely a lesser played Super Nintendo game that I think a lot of people would like. Especially if you're not like super great at shooters. Like you can kind of get your bearings on this one pretty quickly because it's fairly simple, but it's still like challenging if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I,
You,
I will at least try any game with the dog in the nest with some eggs.
with some
Is on it.
I will try any of these dog eggs.
So yeah, Hal has earned my good graces.
Yeah, I mean, Hal, we talked a lot last time about mostly Kirby, but a lot of Hal content on Super Nintendo, and this is just one of those random Hal games that's just good.
I actually have another Hal game on my list apparently that I didn't even realize was a Hal game. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, is it Arcana? But no. That's another dog egg you should try. Arcana's pretty cool.
Another dog egg.
I will try that.
Yeah,
I will
that's
try
what
that
Hal's
dog egg.
games are to me from here on out. They're dog's eggs.
What is your other Hal game? Well, your Hal game, Tender.
I don't know. I'm on the Hal wiki here, and it says they had a hand in SimCity for the Super Nintendo, which I did not realize that, but it makes sense. So yeah, my second game is SimCity for the Super Nintendo, and I think it's an interesting game because it's one of those things during the time when they're absolutely like I think we think a lot about. Xbox, PS2, GameCube era where we didn't have great PS2 or great PC ports to consoles, and Xbox 360, PS3 era where they got kind of better and stuff like. But people don't really talk about like 16-bit where like if you put like a PC game on a console, it was usually garbage, right? And the first time I ever played SimCity was at a cousin's house that actually had a personal computer, which my family did not have at the time, and I thought it was amazing. So I rented the game. A lot of my stories will go back to renting from Mega.
I feel that.
From Mega Video, but and I rented the game, and it was actually pretty great and pretty close to the PC experience, as close as you can get with a controller, and it's just like a and the thing about it that makes it really unique too is that it was actually, I believe, published by Nintendo, and obviously like and like Hal, helped and everybody developed it, and so it has like a lot of weird quirks to it. Like in the PC version, you have a bunch of disasters that can happen, like whatever, volcanoes, hurricanes, monster attack, this and that. If the monster attacks in the Super Nintendo version, it's Bowser. If you get to the future, and you have a lot of citizens in the Super Nintendo version, you can build a statue, and the statue is Mario, and you have this character that is basically Will Wright, like Dr. Wright, and he has like green hair and he looks crazy.
He's in Smash.
And he's in Smash, and he shows up in Link's Awakening. He's a character in Link's Awakening as well. And so it has all these weird tie-ins and weird lineage that go along with it, that makes it really unique in the SimCity universe. And on top of that, it's actually a very competent SimCity game. Like you can play it. It takes a little bit. Like I would say the tutorial isn't the greatest, but for a Super Nintendo game, it definitely was better than most. I think I remember renting like there was a craze back then where I'd rent like Sim Ant and like Sim Earth, and like these games were terrible. These were not good games.
Hey, yo, dude, Sim Ant, come on, Sim Ant was good.
Sim Ant's okay, all right, but like Sim Earth, like a lot of these games, and at the very most, they or very least, I should say, they did not have good tutorials. At least they did not onboard you into what the hell you were supposed to be doing. SimCity did, and then there was actually a version of SimCity 2000 on the system too, which is kind of decent as well, but it didn't have all these quirks. So I always go back to this version, which is just SimCity nothing, and it's really great, and has really great music, has great graphics for the Super Nintendo, not quite as good as the PC, has all those quirks that you can think of, and it's just like a very competent PC port to console at the time, in a time where that was unprecedented. So I thought it's very interesting to bring up.
I think it's fun, yeah, because a lot of those versions, like even with like arcade to home ports, or PC to console ports, they may not be technically better or on the same level as the original PC version, but it really helps when they have unique stuff, excuse me, with them, that makes, still makes them like compelling or weird or interesting to play. And SimCity definitely kind of stands out as one of those.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I think of PC whenever I think of like PC ports to console. I don't even know if this was a PC game at first and then ported to console. But Lemmings is always what comes to mind. I think
think of
Lemmings.
StarCraft 64.
StarCraft 64.
Because
Yeah.
that's the dumbest thing in the entire
That's
world.
kind of funny.
Two-player co-op you can play in StarCraft 64. So split
That's
screen.
whack. Yikes.
Yeah.
Jesus, no, please, no. SimCity's like an all-time great video game. I actually installed SimCity 2000 like a week ago. I was like, I just want to play SimCity.
It's still good.
Just a quick as a side, I remember this happening a few years ago. Did you hear about when the prototype cartridge for the NES version of SimCity got out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just it was just 3 or 4 years ago, I think this happened. It was like people thought it was lost, like that nobody had any of it, or nobody had like any copy of it anywhere, but it was found. And I think you can probably get the ROM somewhere.
Yeah. You definitely can somewhere on the internet.
If you were so inclined to do such a thing.
If you were curious.
The
I
what?
don't think, I don't think
What's
anyone's
a
hurting.
ROM?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's hurting from somebody checking out the prototype of the NES SimCity if they wanted to. But
Yeah.
I remember looking at screenshots of it and thinking, wow, this is kind of crazy to think that this is almost a thing that happened.
Yeah.
It's got a really cool, like aesthetic, like an NES aesthetic to it. And I've actually never played the Super Nintendo version of either of the SimCities, because didn't SimCity 2000 come out too?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I played them on PC, and I just... It was a thing of, like, I'm not going to, like, ask my parents to buy SimCity on the Super Nintendo when I already have it on the computer.
Yeah.
And then just never got around to trying it later in life, but I've always found it kind of interesting that Nintendo would do something as weird. Like, they would... Can you imagine Nintendo doing something like that today? Like, stepping full out of their zone and, like, being like, yeah, we'll develop this version of this game for our hardware.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we'll make city skylines for the Switch.
Yeah, like ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah. It's not
Yeah.
that you'll make it and we'll put Mario in it or whatever if you
Right.
put it on the Switch. It's, we'll make City Skyline for
We'll
the
take
Switch.
your IP and we'll make it our way and put our characters into it.
and then retain some kind of rights to it, probably, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
since that stuff's in Smash, and
Yeah.
were those games released on the Virtual Console?
I believe SimCity 1 was, yeah.
That's just such a crazy situation.
SimCity 1 was, and of course Link's
Wild.
Awakening is, and the Link's Awakening remake has Dr. Wright in it as well.
That's
Wow.
true.
And
Yeah.
there's
True.
a 64 game too. I just realized looking.
Oh
at it.
yeah, that's really
It's,
interesting.
it's for the
Yeah.
disc drive. It's
Yeah, I
called
forgot about that.
SimCity 64.
Yes.
Wow, who would have guessed?
This looks wild,
Dude, you should look in. I think there might be a playable ROM of that out there as well for SimCity 64.
Somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, somewhere in the metaverse there is a playable SimCity 64. It was like if I recall correctly, it like combined like Simcopter and like some
this
other
does
stuff.
kind of look like Streets of SimCity.
Yeah.
I remember all those games, man. Sim Tower was
Sim
fun.
Tower. Yeah, you build
I remember
that. Yeah.
Sim Tower was like on like in my like elementary classroom in like third grade or something.
Yeah,
on those
dude, it
computers.
was fun.
Yeah, it was
Or
hot.
maybe it was just the best game that they'd put on their computers. I don't know.
I mean, there's that too.
But it
my-
was more enjoyable than listening to a teacher.
Yeah, I mean, my elementary school also was kind of neat because we had a computer lab of Apple IIs that were just loaded with games,
That is
and
cool.
that was the best day of the week, man.
Yeah.
before we go too far off the path
Astray.
here, um, speaking of well, this one's kind of interesting too. So I think a lot of people forget that a lot of licensed games back in this time were actually pretty good. And obviously
Nah.
you have examples like TMNT that everyone knows. But even stuff like Konami was the one who would typically do it, where they'd have like Animaniacs on Super Nintendo and Animaniacs on Genesis were two separate games.
Capcom too.
Yeah, Batman Returns was a different game on Genesis than on Super Nintendo.
Aladdin.
Uh,
Yeah.
Aladdin, yeah,
Yeah.
Aladdin's a great example. And so I do think there were some really cool ones, and one of the cool licensed games that I really liked as a kid was Inspector Gadget on the Super Nintendo, which I think I recently realized was not actually Sunsoft that developed. It was just it was or I don't remember if it was Sunsoft or Hudson developed, but it's a pretty decent platformer. Um, and what's fun about it is like one, it has a soundtrack that does not deserve to be as good as it is. It's like it's really good. Um, and Yeah, it was developed by a studio called AIM, which is now known as 45 Co Ltd. They did a lot of
Oh.
Dreamcast stuff, I guess. It was published by Hudson. But so the soundtrack is really good, and it does not include the show's theme song at all. It's not there in any way, shape,
What?
or form. Yeah, it's just not in the game. Like
How
not
do you
even
do that?
anywhere. I don't know. I don't know if they didn't have couldn't get the rights to it or what. But they it's in a completely original soundtrack, and it's a like every song's a banger in this soundtrack. But basically, it was kind of almost like I don't want to say it was like Mega Man in the sense that you had different powers that you could use because it wasn't you didn't get them like Mega Man. Like you don't beat a boss and then get a gadget power. You actually pick them up through the levels, so basically you shoot your stretchy arms and legs or your punching glove out of your hat, um, and those were like your normal moves. But then you had the actual like cool like gadget moves like the gadget copter, and other the mini gadget like things that you could toss out and stuff, and some crap that was like made up for the game. And to use those weapons, you had to collect them, and you also needed you had a thing called hat energy, called hat. Um,
Hmm.
so you could pick up like the first area of the game, like the first thing you pick up is the suction cup platforms. That you like, they're suction cup darts that you shoot out of your hat, and you use them to climb. And when you blew up blocks or blew up enemies or whatever, there would be these tiles, and there would be different power ups. And they would level as well, so they would go up to level 3 for each of them, and you would see like what level they were as you scrolled through them with the L and R buttons. And when you got it to level 3, it was like like the best form of that, um, you know the best form of that gadget. But if you when you first get it to level 3, the icon starts flashing, so that meant the gadget was like, it was like a super version of the gadget. It was like a one-time use of like the super version. There's a lot of weird like interesting systems going on here. um and the game was relatively simple. It was like your typical like, it was a typical platformer, but it caught the spirit of the cartoon. Like the sprites are really nice. It has like the weird like POW graphics, and like, Dr. Claus is in the game, and his chair is always faced away. And there was some neat Mode 7 stuff as well. Very neat stuff. Like each stage was kind of like 3 levels, and they're all like a different mission that you got from what's his face, the police guy. My brain is failing me. Uh, but basically, the main like mission of the game, or the main like issue of the game, comes towards the end, where you have to save Penny. That's kind of like the main overarching goal of the game. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of neat. The hit points were like ghosts and goblins. You would wear the gadget suit, and if you got hit, he would be in his underwear.
Huh.
Um, and Something fun for people who are into the cartoon. This game is the game that they showed Dr. Claw's face. Dr. Claw's face
What?
is shown at the end of the game. Yeah, it's very underwhelming, but his face is very clearly visible at the end of the game. I think it's just this game and like one obscure like action figure that shows Dr. Claw's face, and that's it.
Have we seen Master Chief yet? Or so you're telling me we've seen you're telling me we've seen Dr. Claw before
Yeah.
we've seen Master Chief. That's what you're telling.
It's funny because like the bosses in this game, like there's like times where you're directly fighting Dr. Claw. Like he's like there's one where he like you're on a clock tower and he's like swinging around like a giant like freaking like saw blade, right? And then there's the first boss of the game, which is in a castle, and he just kind of like slots into a thing, and the chandelier starts attacking you. You fight a chandelier as the first boss. It just drops flames on you and stuff, and the whole room is like rotating and stuff. It's real weird.
I'm watching like I'm skipping through a long play here, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the mode 7 stuff, and there's like power ups where he throws out like little mini robots that go attack people and stuff. And
like
it looks really cool.
there's some weird ones. Like you have the gadget helicopter, which you can glide with, but then there's like a red version, which is like it just shoots out the helicopter blade.
I feel like
You can kind of steer it.
I feel like the big difference between like licensed games back then versus licensed games now is that you had these weird studios that had like really neat ideas for like a platformer, and just like nobody would give them money, and they're like, fine, we'll make Inspector Gadget, and they just got to like morph that into like their already preconceived ideas of like a good platformer. Whereas now it's just like, like make us a Paw Patrol game, and it's just like, all right, I guess we gotta do all the thing. Like it's the opposite way. Like they need to, and I noticed this team AIM also made a game called SWAT Cats: The Radical Squadron. So another game to check out.
I wanted to point out that the composer did the music for the Panzer Dragoon series.
Oh, really? I had
there you
no
go.
idea.
And that, I think, is a very funny dichotomy.
That is funny.
That is great. The soundtrack is legit, like really good. I would, even if you don't play the game, if it's not your thing, just listen to the soundtrack on YouTube because it's really cool.
Yeah, we could do an entire section about SNES games that are like bad to mediocre to okay or whatever, but still have like incredible soundtracks like Plock.
Oh, Plock is a good game though too.
Plock I like the first like act of, and then it turns into like kill all the ants and I'm out. That's how that one goes for me. But that game has an amazing soundtrack too.
It does.
But yeah, like you end up fighting Dr. Claw in an airship at the end. He goes into a mech and you fight him in the mech and you can see his face.
That's messed up. I don't like that.
It's kind of messed up. I agree.
Oh, I see him.
I
see his face.
I just want to shout out, like, you go to different places that were like kind of shown in the show, and one of them is a tomb in Egypt, and the name of the guy who's locked in the tomb, or whose tomb it is, this is in the cartoon as well. His name is King Tutenpoot, and that always gets me every single time.
Man,
the way they say it on the show is really funny because it's like. They try to make it sound really evil, and it's just Tutenpoot.
King Tutenpoot. that's
but
funny, man.
I know, James, you have one here that I'm also extremely into.
It's a game about fairies, blocks, and garbage. It's actually about Yoshi, blocks, and garbage in America, because I think that the people... I wonder if it was the Japanese branch or the American branch of Nintendo that was like, we gotta get paneled upon, but there's no way these Americans are buying a game with these little, like, fairies in it.
Yeah, with these fairy girls in it.
So I feel like that was probably what happened there on one side or the other. They were like, we gotta put Yoshi in it.
Yeah, we'll just use Yoshi instead, and also we'll throw the Tetris brand in there.
we got to put Mario in it, and then someone was like, "No, why don't you do Yoshi's already got puzzle games, Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie, neither of which are great. So it's actually kind of a miracle that Tetris Attack is as good as it is. Calling it Tetris Attack, probably a bad idea. Don't
Kind
know
of,
why they did that.
kind of both a good and bad idea, because bad, it's nothing to do with Tetris at all, but good, but because people would see it and be like, oh, Tetris, and then find out it's nothing like Tetris.
Well, why say it's probably a bad idea? Long term.
Yeah.
Because now I imagine selling it again as a problem in some way. Like,
It is.
they would have put Tetris Attack on NSO and not Panel de Pont if they could have.
Yeah.
I imagine, right? Like,
If I
maybe
remember
I'm wrong.
If I remember correctly, Tetris Company very much regrets that particular use of the Tetris IP.
I have the exact quote here. Though international releases have the name Tetris Attack, the game bears no relation to Tetris, the video game series, leading a Tetris Company co-founder, Hank Rogers, to regret giving Nintendo the license to use the name. So yeah,
I think it was a mistake, on everybody's part, really. The game is immaculate, though. I'm a big fan of puzzle games, especially the versus ones. I find particularly fun.
Yeah.
And I think that Tetris Attack / Panel de Pont / Puzzle League, whatever you want to call it, is the, pinnacle of... It's between that and Puyo Puyo, and I think it's better than Puyo Puyo.
Yeah.
Personally, I enjoy it more than Puyo Puyo, but I would hear strong arguments for Puyo being just as good, you know? I think they're both very, top of class games in what they try to do. The soundtrack is really good. The aesthetics of the game are really good. I like all of the different boards, like the backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah. All of which they just redid for the West because, for the most part, because fairies.
Yeah, and even, to a weird extent, there's only red and blue garbage blocks in Tetris Attack.
Yeah.
In Panel de Pont, every fairy has their own colors. There's, for the longest time, the little pink box that Kirby turns into in Smash Brothers, I didn't realize that was supposed to be a garbage block for, years. I probably found that out in, Brawl, when, the move had a trophy or something.
Yeah.
And because it didn't look like a garbage block to me at all. Because I knew them from Tetris Attack, where they were always red and blue and scowling. And Panel de Pont, they can be smiling and winking and all sorts of other, deplorable shit. The person's mad and they got this giant purple block that's just, winking at them on the screen.
I always made the connection that was a garbage block. I just kind of assumed that, it was Kirby, so, maybe Kirby had a different expression or something.
I thought he was just a little box. I was like, that's weird. I don't know why he turns into a box, but I also don't really know why he turns into a Gordo either. So,
I want to come on here and say that, oh man, yeah, James, I can't believe you didn't know that, but I'm learning something right now, and it's blowing my mind, and I'm just thinking about it, and it makes complete sense, and I also don't understand why I didn't think about that before today, but.
Yeah, well,
thank you for that.
Congratulations, you learned something today. It feels good, doesn't it?
It does feel good.
But yeah, it's hard to talk about the intricacies of a puzzle game and why it would be so fun.
Yeah.
In just a podcast form.
I will say.
So any of you out there that would like to play Tetris Attack on NSO under the Panel de Pont name or whatever it's called, I'll beat you.
So this is an invitation to get your ass kicked.
Invitation. I'm very good at this game.
Not he will teach you, he will beat you.
Yeah. He'll beat you into submission, and you'll learn from your suffering.
So you're also excited about this game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a fan.
Yeah. Tetris Attack was my introduction into Puzzle League. My mom had a coworker who had some old SNES games that she didn't have any use for anymore, and those included Wing Commander: The Secret Missions, Vegas Stakes, one of the Wheel of Fortune games, and then the fourth one was Tetris Attack.
Sometimes there's the gem under a pile of garbage.
That game,
Vegas Stakes, another HAL Laboratory game.
Yeah, but Tetris Attack was crack for me. Like I people say like you'd close your eyes and see Tetris blocks falling, or you'd see like Puyo blocks falling. For me, I'd close my eyes and just see Tetris attack crap going on, because the game is just so fast and engaging, and it lets you do so many different things. Like you have a lot more choice, I feel like, at any given time, than some other games, because it's not a falling block game for anyone who hasn't played it. It's you have a screen of tiles that you can switch around with a cursor, and you can even like raise your own stack or whatever. And the game is really built around you getting it, these different clears and then comboing them into other clears. So you need at least 3 blocks to blow them up, but when you blow up something in a column, the rest of the column is going to fall. So you can cause these crazy like chain reactions where like block after block formation is just like falling and exploding, and the better you do, it's like a typical puzzle game, it's going to send more garbage to the opponent, and it's so addicting. Like, it's just, and I still like Tetris Attack / Panel de Pon. I like it much better than Pokemon Puzzle League. I know people usually get upset with me when I say that, but
Really?
Because I think it's because it's the Pokemon like IP that people feel very strongly attached to. But to me, there is so much more charm, and so like everything is just so much more like charming and lively, in the original game versus Puzzle League, which to me was always just like ugly faded sprites and bad midis based on the Pokemon anime.
When
Like,
you're hot, you're hot.
yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. Yeah.
Did you ever play the GameCube version?
I've wanted to.
There's
I've
a
not been able
GameCube
to.
version?
There was
There
a
is.
GameCube puzzle collection. It had Dr. Mario,
Yeah, Dr. Mario,
Panel
the
de
64
Pon,
version, Panel de Pon, and Yoshi's Cookie.
and Yoshi's Cookie. Yeah, it was a
Nintendo
Japanese
puzzle?
only release.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played that version of Panel de Pon. It's very good.
Yeah.
I tend to prefer the Super Nintendo one for a
Yeah.
dumb reason, and it's that the slowdown actually kind of is fun to play with in that game.
That's where my
Yes.
friends were at. That's 100% where my friends were at. Like, it was like, because we would play Tetris Attack, and then we would play Pokemon Puzzle League, and yeah, like the SNES version, like slowing down and like being able to adjust and set up combos and stuff like that was actually like a feature that people liked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of fun in its own
People
shitty way.
people don't really. It's funny because you can kind of tell like generationally, like some differences between players when you're one of the people who's like, man, slow down in games actually used to be cool. Like, it was fun. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who wants an FPS drop? You know what I mean?
Well,
It's like,
it depends on where it happens and what's
Yeah,
going on
it definitely
when
depends.
happens,
But a lot of the times you just felt really cool if you managed to do something that was so crazy that the game slowed down.
yeah. Right.
Well, look at like how like retro gaming's going these days. It's not like, oh, let's put it on this chip that's way faster so we can play, Gradius 3 without any slowdown.
Yeah.
It's like no, I want to play Gradius 3 exactly how it was back then. I want to play it like with the exact same slowdown,
Right.
the exact same spots.
I want
Like,
accuracy.
Yeah,
not,
accuracy.
Yeah.
not an improved
But-
experience.
but James-
I go back and forth on that. It depends on the game.
James, I do
Well,
want to ask James how you feel about Animal Crossing Panel de Pon.
It was cute.
I think it's cute too.
I didn't play much of it.
If they needed another like series to like attach Puzzle League to because they're still allergic to fairies for some reason, I would not be upset if they tied it to Animal Crossing as an Animal Crossing spin-off. I think it works
fairies
well.
would play just fine now.
I mean, I think so too.
The
I think
world has
fairies are
been
fine.
weeabooed to
Yeah.
tell. We lost that war. Like, it's over.
Yeah. The great anime war.
But for the sake of keeping the conversation moving, I'd just make 3 quick points about Panel de Pon. First of all, when you beat the first 9 enemies, you move on to stronger enemies, the boss
Yeah,
fights.
in the cave, right?
Yeah, and the people that you beat previously are now on your side to fight the true evil, so you can play as any of those characters against the final bosses, which I think is cool from like a dumb story standpoint. It feels neat to be able to do that. And when they die, if you die to the bosses, like they are knocked out and you can't use them again. And they each have a line of dialogue that's unique to them. And Lakitu's is "I hate you openly and without regret," which is the funniest thing in the world to me. Like, why would Lakitu say Lakitu, dude? Lakitu.
That's like
I didn't know Lakitu had those thoughts inside of him until I played that game. You know.
That's like Kirby's Avalanche.
Yeah, don't step on my roots.
There's like don't step on my roots. Stomp. Like everyone is so mean spirited in that game. That's really funny. I don't know what it is with puzzle games in that.
2, Planet Puzzle League on the DS is a good game, but playing it with touchscreen controls is not the same, and it's bullshit. Not the real game. And 3, as an addendum to that, Meteos is basically paneled upon 2, in my opinion.
I agree, yeah.
And Meteos that game is also quite good.
Meteos is amazing. If you like Panel de Pon, try it. If you like Meteos and haven't played Tetris Attack and Panel de Pon, try it. Panel de Pon is on Nintendo Switch Online. You have no excuse. We all know that you're paying for it.
And Meteos was made by Sakurai.
Yeah. Yes. So you're double obligated to play it if you're a Smash Bros. Minor fan.
You can tell by the menu.
Icarus weirdo.
I think we could probably talk about Tetris Attack for 10,000 years, so we'll move on to Tender's last pick here.
Yeah, sure. So this will not be a heralded game, and I don't necessarily even think it's a good game, but it's a game I think back on fondly, and it's Spider-Man and Venom and Maximum Carnage for the Super Nintendo. And this is I've been learning stuff about this game since I picked it, just like looking around to see what other games, Software Creations, the developer of this game, has made.
Great company name. Just so inspiring.
We just make Software Creations, and in the chat earlier, James raised something that rings very true for me, because I think I was at the perfect age where I would go to I think it was Kmart when I bought this game, and saw it was a red cartridge. And that was all I really needed. Spider-Man's in this. It's a red cartridge, and
I've been a Kmart. It's the red version of Walmart. Everything's just coming up here. What can I do? I gotta take this game.
I'm helpless, so I need this game, and I bought it. And there's a lot of really unique things that go along with this game that are really weird. The number one thing that I think a lot of people think about when they think about this game is the soundtrack. As it was scored by Green Jelly.
Yeah, that's weird.
Who many people may know from like the memes didn't exist in the 90s, but this would have been a meme song. The Three Little Pigs song that Green Jelly sang back then. Like little pig, let me in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. That
I think that's just a nursery rhyme, dude.
No. It was a song.
I know the song. It's unfortunate.
And so this was a in the era of Final Fight and all these great and like on Genesis you had even greater side-scrolling brawlers. This game came out.
Streets of Rage, baby.
This game came out, and it's just not a great game. But, it has limited movesets. The animation is not great. You can play as Spider-Man or Venom. The story is not great. But you know what? Like, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. You go through, like, the Fantastic Four's hideout. You're fighting robots. And the great thing about this was it accentuated a lot of Marvel's, like, D-list, maybe even, like, F-list heroes and villains. Like you get these power-ups that you can summon of heroes to help you, and you're summoning like Cloak and Dagger, Deathlock, and Firestar. Like, who the hell cares about Firestar? I don't know.
I don't even know who that is.
And
don't either.
and you're also summoning Morbius, which is a feature film coming out in. Is it out already? Yeah. Jared Leto, go see it in theaters. I'm not being paid. Yeah, we're all gonna go see Morbius. And then when you fight the villains, it's just like you're fighting like a guy. It's just like you're fighting doppelganger. It's just like Spider-Man with 8 limbs, and Shriek.
So like a real spider.
And Shriek, who just yells really loud, and
Oh.
Goblin, which is like, it's, it's not.
I
Or
love how it's
Demo
all,
or
like,
Demo,
Yeah.
Demo. I don't know, but it's.
Oh, wait, is it like Demo Man, like a demolition goblin?
But it's so far removed from the Goblin bloodline. And there's like Green Goblin, there's like Hobgoblin, and then you got Demo Goblin. It's somewhere down there. and that's who we got.
Hobgoblin was the one I was familiar with because of this random little PC edutainment game called Amazing Math, which was a Marvel characters. And the Spider-Man stage, you were against Hobgoblin. That was the only reason I knew that character.
Incredible. So yeah, this game, I think this goes back to show from the SNES catalog that just like there's a lot of what you would call today AA tier games back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like games you can kind of stumble across, play, have a great time with, realize they're not great, but have fond memories of, especially when you were a kid, especially with licensed games. Licensed games are not a big thing today. Back then they were a real big thing. And they were all varying quality.
They're still kind of a big thing. They just aren't. There aren't as many of them.
It's not. Yeah, they're
Like,
kind of. It's in different ways now, right? Like licensed stuff shows up in like every Fortnite crossover,
Or
as
you
opposed
get your
to like
your big Star Wars game or something.
right. Yeah.
But like the thing these days, it's like every children's property doesn't get a game,
Right.
or if it does, it gets a shovelware tier game that's like you see at a Walmart if you go in there, but you would never see it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
Like, it's weird.
so here's my surprising pick that I figured out just researching this game is that Software Creations, developer of Spider-Man and Venom and Maximum Carnage, were also developers of Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball, published by Nintendo.
Yeah.
So,
Let's go.
So
No,
that's pretty weird.
I actually ended up getting Maximum Carnage fairly recently because as a kid I had the sequel Separation Anxiety, which is less good than Maximum Carnage, but is similar.
Yeah. I think Separation Anxiety was where everybody realized it was actually a bad game, and then they didn't have green jelly anymore. I don't think so. That really sealed the deal.
Yeah, they had that song I sent to you before we started recording here. The most amazing opening theme of all time. Check it out on YouTube.
Anytime they try to take the symbiotes beyond Venom and Carnage, it just nobody cares.
Yeah,
Separation Anxiety is a fantastic name.
it's really fun.
It is. No, it's a great name.
It's perfect. It's funny. It's accurate. It's a little bit evocative in a stupid way, but it's a comic book, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just whoever thought that up is a genius.
And I will say, as my last note on this, and I'll shut up, is that the Maximum Carnage comic book series is actually pretty bad too. It was just like this long, it was like this long drawn out like 14 comic series, which actually, compared to today, might not actually be that long. But back then, it was an enormously long time. But back then, when you were a kid, you didn't care about all these characters. It's all the same characters. It's actually pretty accurate towards the comic version. Has these weird cutscenes and stuff where Carnage is killing people. So,
was it made to tie in with the game, or was the game made to tie in with it, or
I don't know. I have no. I don't want to pretend. I don't want to pretend, but it's shockingly similar to what they cooked up for that comic book series. So I would have to say, if I had to guess, it followed it. But I don't know. So the comic book came out in '93, I believe. This game came out in '95. So yeah, it was 2 years later. So
yeah. Still a fun time though. That's even yeah, and like you said, there were a lot of games that weren't like amazing, but like they were still fun. Like it's that game is not a TMNT, Turtles in Time deal, but it's also not a Batman Forever,
Right.
which
Wow.
or Batman Forever.
The
never.
spectrum of licensed games.
Yeah, there's definitely like a a spectrum of licensed games.
I wish somebody brought that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting game. That's a good game.
Oh, Tournament Fighters.
Yeah.
It's very unique, and the funniest thing about it is that the fake turtles, I forget what they're called, but when you fight them and they win, they say "Cowabunga," and it's just "Cowabunga."
That's almost right.
Yeah, like, it's just funny to me. I don't know if that's how it was in the cartoon or whatever, because I didn't see it, but it just said "Cowabunga." I'm like, what?
Well, they say cowabunga.
Right, but I mean, like the fake turtles. I don't know if they say "Cowabunga." If that's
Oh,
just
I
a
see what
thing.
you're saying.
They're just one vowel off. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're so close, so close. You almost had us fooled. On the opposite side of licensed games, and certainly the opposite of Batman Forever, James, you have an interesting. Well, not an. I
Well, it's
almost
not-
said a not interesting
I mean-
pick, but you have a last pick.
Well, they're not that far apart. I mean, those games suck, and this game stinks.
It does stink, yeah.
What a
still have
weird
it.
marketing campaign, man.
It is a very.
Earthbound.
I just
is
realized what
quite
you were
good.
talking about, and I
I gotta
my
stop making jokes when Tender's here.
my blood pressure went up.
I'm gonna kill a man. Earthbound is good. I know that it's like a meme at this point on the internet to be a Mother
Yeah.
fan.
What is that article? It's like Earthbound mega fan finally plays the game for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah, excited to finally play the game for the first time. It's like all these people, they're like, put it on NSO, and I'm like, dog, have you not played it yet? Like, there's like, if you care about Earthbound, it's very easy to get your hands on a way to play Earthbound. It's not easy to get your hands
Yeah.
on a copy of. It is easy to get your hands on a copy of Earthbound. It is expensive to get your hands on a copy.
Yeah,
of
I think a lot of people don't realize that game is expensive, not because it's like hard to find, but because its level of desirability has shot up.
Yeah, and so this is coming from someone who really likes Earthbound. I've never played Mother 1 or Mother 3.
Ooh.
That game was kind of formative in a lot of ways to like the sense of humor and the worldview that I have. It really hit home in a time when like RPGs were mostly like fantasy worlds, and like Earthbound's still fantasy, but it's more of a science fiction fantasy
Yeah.
and like a bizarro fantasy than a like knights and magic and elves fantasy, which is what Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy mostly were at the time. It was really interesting to just kind of like walk through what felt like a relatively familiar neighborhood setting as just this little dude, and like at
Yeah.
the beginning it catches you off guard with how charming it is, because it's not charming just in its like presentation, it's charming in all of its input, the ways that you interact with the world too. Because at the beginning of the game, you're asked to like name your dog and like also tell it what your favorite food is.
Mhm.
And then like seconds later, your mom's like, "Oh, I cooked your favorite food," but it's like it's what you typed in. So if you typed in like burgers, she'll be like, "Oh, I made burgers for dinner," and it's just like, "Oh, this is cool."
You
The
know what I
game's
typed
like-
in, James?
Yeah, you probably typed in like something foul, right?
No, I was a child when I had Earthbound.
Oh, okay.
Earthbound and Pokemon taught me that I hate RPGs.
Oh.
But what I wrote in there didn't make like grammatical sense in the conversation. So her mom's like, "Hey, Clay, I made you hot dog."
That's very funny. I made you hot dog. Yeah, it's hard to talk about Earthbound because like you probably know everything about it from having either played it or absorbed it through cultural osmosis. But it's one of those things that's like super cult popular that I actually think deserves it, which is there are very few things that raise to that level of like popularity and nerddom that warrant having as rabid of a fan base as it does, but I think Earthbound does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's written in a really fun and like different way. Like there's a scene in that game where Ness beats up the cops.
Yeah.
There's a canon gay character in it that it's like that's probably a first for like a Super Nintendo game in America at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really good overall. I mean, it's not a perfect game by any means. It's actually a game that in a lot of ways is kind of irritating and frustrating to play for a lot of people, and I understand that. It's very archaic. It's basically Dragon Quest 1 with like a couple extra mechanics layered on top. Like people don't seem a lot. I've met a lot of people that haven't played it that don't know about the health, the way the health works.
Oh, it's so good.
So like say Ness has 50 health, and say Ness gets hit by an attack that has 40 health. It starts counting down, and if you heal before it gets from 50 to 10, the full 40 damage, it'll stop counting down.
Or even better.
So there is like an interesting like active element to the combat, but again, it's very archaic in its design. Pretty combat system, pretty much behind where RPGs were at the time, I would say, when you consider things like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI and Mario RPG.
Mm-hmm.
But written in a way that was totally unique and totally made up for all the other shortcomings.
I was just gonna say it's even better when you take like fatal damage though, not even just like down to 10 HP. Like you were gonna die, and if you just played your cards right, got around to healing, you could heal before your
Yeah, you
HP.
can stop yourself from
You
dying.
can stop yourself from dying.
Yeah, that's like the one wrinkle that makes the combat system different, but it does make a difference. It's interesting.
I'm praying.
The enemies in that game are so bizarre, like just what they are. Even the stuff in the beginning where it's like, you know, the angry neighborhood dog that probably has rabies.
Yeah, new age retro hippie. I always found that one funny.
Yeah,
Like I said before, the cops.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just funny because, you know, the creator, it's always like he's like not necessarily just a video game guy, right? Like so he has and so it's very interesting how he creates this, like, you know, he's a Japanese, I think he's like a novelist or something, like he's a writer.
He's a writer.
Yeah, and he comes up with this idea of like suburban America, and you know, it's just so interesting to see what somebody's view of like suburban America is through this like surrealist lens of somebody that you know is not
Pretty
from there.
close.
Yeah, no, it's not far off. And it's just very great, and like the characters are very endearing, and the spells are like, the storyline is very unique. Like James said, it's just, you know, it's not swords and shields.
It's not unique anymore.
Well, you know, out of all the Undertale ripoffs, Earthbound's my favorite one. But
That's a good point.
yeah. So, but like, you know, out of the emerging Undertale ripoff genre, Earthbound's my favorite. But yeah, it's not unique anymore, maybe, but like it was, and you know, it's just searching around a desert for a contact lens, and you know, like doing and going into a weird coffee shop and going into like a surreal like alternate dimension where you're fighting scalding hot coffee cups, and it's just, you know,
Going on a short road trip with a jazz band.
yeah, it's just like I played this game when I was a kid. I might not have understood, I think, all of the themes that they were going for and everything like that, but I still like absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite games then. It's one of my favorite games now. I have the great pleasure of still having the original box and the original cart, but unfortunately the guide has died.
I do not have the original box, but I do have the cart and the guide, although the guide is probably not in the greatest shape. The scratch and sniff cards are still there, which is the only part that's important anyway.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is very important. I got the like aftermarket guides to fill my hole. They're very good, but yeah, unfortunately my guide was passed around like the elementary school classroom too many times to the point where it fell apart. But
that guide was incredible. Actually, I spent more time reading the guide than I did playing the game.
yeah, it would actually be a very interesting case study to have like 5 people that played the game with the guide, like as it came in America, and 5 people that played the game never using the guide, because it's just like I use the guide because that's just what I thought you were supposed to do, and
Well, it came with it.
yeah,
Yeah, it was,
and now
yeah.
I just I know all
It's
the things you need to do because I played with the guide.
it's the most intuitive game in the world. There's an item called pencil eraser, and then there's a pencil in your way, and you have to use the pencil eraser to erase the pencil. That's the most intuitive thing that anyone's ever made in a video game. What are you talking about?
The thing with the guide that makes it so special is that it's written like a travel guide.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
really it's really unique. If you have not seen the guide, I believe Nintendo has it uploaded on their server still.
I mean, it
They did
sounds to
that
me
for the Wii U re-release.
Yep.
it sounds to me like you probably like all of Earthbound except playing it.
Yeah, I was actually about to say Earthbound. I like the music, I like the writing, I like the world, I like the look, I like everything except the game itself. The game itself I find desperately like it taught me that I hate RPGs. So, yeah, that is accurate.
That might, to be honest with you, that might have been the goal. You might be the only person who's ever like actually like gotten Earthbound completely. A toy's just like, I gotta get these nerds off video games.
Yeah.
Or the world's gonna burn. And look, he was right.
He was right.
Right.
Yamauchi was right about the RPG dwellers in the basement or whatever.
The people
Yeah,
hated
exactly.
him because he told the truth.
God. Anyway, on a different note, my last pick is unsurprising and is also the most recent first-party Super Nintendo game to be released because it's Star Fox 2, which was only officially released a few years ago at the SNES Classic. And I won't spend too much time on this because I think everyone is pretty familiar with it at this point. It got a lot of press. A lot of people know what the deal is with this game. I just think it's really ambitious. I think it's unique. I don't think it's as good as the first one by any stretch of the imagination. But it's very interesting because it's essentially an open game. Obviously you can't like literally like sit in the cockpit and fly from one end of the map to the other, but you're directly controlling where your ship goes, and then when you encounter enemies or go to a planet, it's in full free roam. But it's so unique too because it also has roguelike elements to it. You have a global timer that's kind of going, and stuff happens depending on while you're playing stages, or while you're fighting Starwolf or whatever stuff is happening on the map. And for anyone who has tried it and maybe didn't totally get it, I would recommend definitely not just playing it on normal mode on that game as like the tutorial for the actual game. Hard mode is a bit more representative, but expert is like the real game of Star Fox 2 as far as I'm concerned. What mainly changes between them, besides the number of places that get invaded, is that all of the level maps are completely different depending on difficulty. So there are bosses that are only on normal mode. There are bosses that are only on expert mode. There are, planet maps and bases that are completely different on each difficulty. So the game has a lot of really interesting stuff going on. It's just kind of organized in a weird way.
Can I ask a few questions real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Just I have not even though I have the mini, and I think it's on NSO now, right? Is it on?
It is. Yeah. Yep, it is on Switch Online.
So does it have the traditional like spider out different paths based off how you perform mission routes? Okay.
Nope. So basically, you start. Andros is like, "Ha, I'm invading Corneria because you guys are awful. You suck." You pick 2 pilots. Basically, they're basically your lives. So
Okay.
you can pick 2 of 6 pilots, and you can switch between them on the map screen. When they die, they're dead. and they actually have different stats for the ships and stuff. Um, and then you see Andros is kind of like, you kind of see on the map, he like sends like stuff to certain planets, and planets are labeled as like, you know, being infected or whatever. So you're on the map screen and you have a cursor, and you like move the cursor and click the button to make ships move to wherever the cursor is.
Gotcha.
And he also sends like missiles and like other enemies from there, that you have to like intercept and stuff, because besides not dying, the main objective of the game is keeping the damage threshold on Corneria under 100%. There's like two ways to game over in the game, pretty much.
Gotcha.
So if you die and you kill one of your wingmates, you still have the other one, you can continue. But if Corneria gets to 100%, the game's just done.
Yeah, I need to try this. I need
It's
to
really cool.
sit down and
Yeah.
do it, because I love the original Star Fox.
Yeah,
So
it's
much.
really cool. It's very different from the original, but it does a lot of really neat things. One thing that is tough about it is that you don't have lock-on laser in the game until much later. It's kind of like a new game plus thing. So you do have a charge laser, just not a lock-on laser. So dogfights and kind of acclimating to that stuff can be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
But it's a really neat game, and it's very dynamic. And, you know, of course, you have like the R-Wing Walker and some of the other elements that showed up in later Star Fox games. People compare it to Star Fox Command. I don't think that's really accurate.
I hope not.
Star Fox Command does not really. Star Fox Command is kind of like to try to. So there's individual missions in Star Fox Command, and there's like a map, but in Star Fox 2, the whole game is the map and the main mission. It feels like stuff actually has consequence.
Yeah.
From situation to situation. And I just think the stages are much more interesting than Command. They're not all just kill X enemies and then leave.
Exactly. I would say like
Yeah.
the thing that, you know, turned me off of Star Fox Command, which I last played in 2005 or 6, whenever it came out.
Yeah, whenever it came out. Yeah.
Was that it was just a bunch of generic levels with generic objectives, and it didn't really feel like you were progressing anything or a story. And so, yeah, if Star Fox 2, there's no onus against just having open levels, but it's just like, you know, what are we doing next?
Yeah.
So if Star Fox 2 has a more concrete progression, then that would definitely help.
It does, yeah. I mean, I think it still suffers from some of the same issues in that, you know, there are no like rail shooting levels. There's not. A lot of them do devolve into like you need to find a way to open the base, which is usually a switch, and then you fly into the base and you get to the end of the base and blow it up, and then that's the level. But you know, I think it does a little bit more with it, and I think it's more interesting at least than Command's implementation of it. And it's fun when you're playing the game and like General Pepper pops up and he's like, "You assholes, you know, Andros just sent more ships at Corneria. What the fuck are you doing?" Like, you know, that kind of deal of it. There's stakes involved.
Nice.
So
I
But,
should play Star Fox 2.
Yeah, you should probably
made
try
it
it.
sound interesting.
You did.
it's a neat game. And again, normal mode is like training wheels. So if you're like play in normal mode and you're like, really, that's it, it's not really the main game. Like normal mode, a playthrough will take you like maybe like a half an hour at the longest, and it'll be an absolute like cruise essentially.
So you're not
But-
just gatekeeping here with your elitism.
No,
You have to
it's
play
legit.
expert Star Fox.
It's legitimately like hard and expert are the real game.
Okay. I believe
so,
you. I'll give that a
Yeah,
shot.
definitely try it.
Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side.
out. Oh boy,
Do
yeah,
a barrel roll.
thing.
Cocky little freaks.
Oh god. Okay. Anyway, so
I'm
we
Slippy Toad.
we're towards the end of this now. I just wanted to give everyone a couple of moments to pick some honorable mentions before we get to our last topic here.
Yeah,
I know
I'll
James had something.
I'll say two quick pieces here, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I've played through all three of the Shin Megami Tensei games on the Super Nintendo. They're fan translated ROMs. They never came out in English officially. I want to give a shout out to those because those are very weird games. I don't think they're very good. They've aged like milk. Only worth checking out if you are really curious, and if you are, I recommend using emulator stuff to the most. Like, rewind that shit, keep it on fast forward because the encounter rate's insane. But check them out if you're curious. They're very weird games that they didn't come out here for a reason. And there's a lot of stuff in those games. It's just like, wow. They're talking about nuking countries in this Super Nintendo game, you know?
Yeah.
Very cool.
And stuff like that. Like, and then this guy Clay and Muffin talked about Superstar Kirby, but not
Here we go.
Dreamland 3, which I think is a game that is probably just as good as Superstar. Its aesthetic is amazing. Nago the cat is in it.
That's true.
Samus Aran is in it. You kill There's a mission to kill Metroids in it. I'm not making this up. That's true.
Is that true?
It's real.
It is true. Yeah.
It's real. It has one of the best Kirby soundtracks in the entire series. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
That's all I had to say.
That's all you got.
Yeah, I got real impassioned there at the end. And wish it would have come a little bit earlier.
What about you, Tender?
Yeah, I got like a hot list here. I'm gonna just run through real quick, but some of my formative Super Nintendo games were Stunt Race FX. I will never forget this game. It runs at 5 frames per second. It looks like absolute trash, but we rented this game on weekends like many times and just had a blast with it. It is super goofy. It's one of those things where you wish this IP would show up somewhere else. Just to pay it. You know, the respect it deserves. The second one is Uniracers, and
Hell yeah.
you know, this whole Pixar story is bananas. I hate Pixar because of this. I hate Pixar because they killed Uniracers. This was another formative game of mine where I just would play it over and over again. I think I got this around the same time I got like Super Mario Kart, and these were the two games that gave me the most replayability in my preteen years.
You just have to play the sequel to Uniracers, Grand Theft Auto.
Oh boy, DMA design. The sequel to Uniracers, Body Harvest.
Yeah. God.
Space Station Silicon Valley.
The third one on my sizzle reel here is Mickey Mania, another baffling game. It is made by Sony, who doesn't know how to make video games, and they somehow made a video game which had load times on the Super Nintendo, but it had a cool concept behind it. It ran through all the old Mickey cartoons. We go through, Steamboat Willie, Mickey and the Beanstalk and all this other stuff. Pretty neat. Plays like garbage. Looks really cool. Has load times. Smash TV, a game that is referenced by many other games and movies, or it references movies, I should say. It actually rips off other movies, but very cool dual stick shooter. One of the originals, one of the OGs. Had another cool follow up, which is Total Carnage, I think is what it's called.
Yep, Total Carnage is cool, yeah.
And just a really fun all game. And I'm gonna end really quick on Mega Man X, which I'm surprised nobody has brought up yet, but started a whole new series, whole new brand of Mega Man. Can argue it's almost like a Metroidvania-esque Mega Man game. And just, I have Mega Man X, X2, and X3 for Super Nintendo. All great games. All nonsensical names for the bosses. All just very, very fun, very stupid. I think Mega Man X2 and X3 both have special chips, which is odd.
Yeah.
Because they, for some
do.
reason, have polygons in them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like Sigma shows up in polygon form in like one of those.
Mega Man X is a mess of a series, but the original is perfect. It's a perfect
I
video game.
don't. I don't even love 2 and 3, to be honest. I think 1's really good.
Yeah, I like 1 a lot, and I like 2 a decent amount too.
2 and 3 are pretty good. I don't dislike them. I think 2 and 3
Yeah.
are decent. 4 is good.
Yeah, Hero 4 is good, and then you have 5 and 6, and
I haven't played anything past 4
I thought
yet,
5
but I
was
hear
good.
Don't
that
bother.
I
it's
thought 5 was
tragedy.
good too. I thought it was 6 that was like the I forget that.
6 sucks.
Yeah.
I can tell you that 6
6
sucks.
is like the
5 isn't great either.
6 is like the worst game in the series, right?
Well, 7, yeah, and then there's 7, which is like the 3D one,
Yeah,
which is weird.
and 8's
Yeah.
3D too, right?
I believe that one goes back to being. I don't actually remember.
But it's still
They all blend
it's still
together.
polygonal though, or something. I don't know.
It is
Yeah,
polygonal,
yeah.
yeah.
But Mega Man X1 was pure. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is
a
pure.
perfect.
It is pure.
It is a perfect video game.
Yeah, it
Please
is
do
good.
not play the PSP version of Mega Man X1 that butchers that game. Maverick
Like-
Hunter X.
Oh, is it bad? I haven't played that version.
It's
Can you still get the Hadoken?
probably it's just they like every cutscene is like voiced, and they added like more talking somehow.
But the voice
It's-
acting in Mega Man's hilarious.
Yeah, it's just dude, it's just so like
You gotta get Dr. Wowie.
it's ugly because it's like PSP polygons.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fucking Mega Man 1 powered up is ugly, too.
Yeah, but that at least has like an attempt at charm.
But Mega Man 1 to begin with wasn't great, so
Yeah.
they could take a few a few decisions.
For me, real quick, I have a couple of ones here. We didn't talk about Batman Forever, surprisingly, because it's awful. But I rented this as a kid, and I ended up owning it. And it's hilarious because the game is very not good, but it's by Probe Software, which are most famous for handling the console ports of Mortal Kombat. And the game is built on the Mortal Kombat 2 engine, and it's basically Mortal Kombat, but if it was a beat 'em up.
Hell yeah!
You're
and
Batman.
and the special move inputs just didn't work like 70% of the time, because all the gadgets in the game, like his cool gadgets, they're all special move inputs. They don't tell you what they are, and even if you got them right, you probably didn't know because they didn't come out. There's that game. Super Mario RPG, I just want to shout out that one. I'm actually
Good
kind of
game.
surprised didn't come up, and I'm not particularly even wild about the game, or like, and I'm certainly not good at the game. I just wanted to bring it up because, kind of like Tender, that was one of the games that I rented a lot as a kid, and my stupid dumbass could not figure out how to advance past Toad Town because I was like 7 and stupid, so that was not a game that I should have been playing at that time.
Just imagining Clay being like, well, I guess I gotta do this thing where I work at the hotel over and over.
I just couldn't figure out how to
RPGs are
get out.
boring, right?
I remember seeing like the map and like thinking that I can select a place on the map, but I couldn't.
Shout out to Malo, one of the most misunderstood characters in the Mario universe that nobody has any respect for, but deserves it way more than Gina.
I want to say shout outs to Boshi
Yeah.
because he's cool Yoshi.
Yeah, pretty much.
I respect
He's
Boshi.
got the glasses and the spikes.
Yeah, and he's
like
purple.
Yoshi, but cool.
But yeah, so we all wanted to say something special at the end because we have one last game that we all like, except maybe James. I don't know. And
I
that is-
appreciate it.
yeah, and that is Mario Paint, which is a very unique Super Nintendo game. I remember drawing very poorly in this game. I still have the mouse pad and all the accessories and everything.
Me too.
Playing in the music creator,
Oh, yeah.
all that fun stuff. I had no artistic talent whatsoever, so a lot of my Mario Paint experience was random doodling and fly swatter.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Fly Swatter and WarioWare Mega Micro Games for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I similarly still have the mouse pad, which is just a giant piece of plastic, and the mouse, which is still like
Also a giant piece of
but
plastic.
but I feel like many people don't appreciate that mice had a ball, not a laser.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is an original ball mouse, and it's on a piece of plastic. So it's from part one here. We're not functioning on the highest level of equipment, but
Yeah.
the game still shined. I actually got this for Christmas one year, not even knowing what it was. Got it. A friend of mine would always come over. We would always mess around making animations. You can make animations.
Yep.
So we'd make dumb animations that were really immature, but we were in elementary school or whatever. We would draw dumb pictures. We would try to make the songs. Again,
Yeah.
I'm like Clay. I don't consider myself very artistic, and the music stuff just doesn't make sense to me. But we tried. And a lot of fly swatter. I feel like we got very, very far in fly swatter. And it was one of those very appreciative things when like Mario Maker 1 came out and it had all these callbacks, like the erase dog, like the fly swatter, all that different stuff. That made it, and of course, James mentioned WarioWare, which has callbacks here and there too.
WarioWare DIY in particular too is
Yeah.
kind of very much a Mario Paint sequel.
It's just I wish they could figure out how to modernize this idea into something that was just fun. Like it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
something super crazy, but I loved this game. This game is definitely deep in my heart.
I think to a degree they have tried to modernize the concepts of Mario Paint a little bit. They've put out games like Electroplankton, and
yeah.
the Animal Crossing Town Tune thing is basically the Mario Paint music creator
it's
simplified.
very simplified level. Yeah.
They've definitely never completely abandoned like the stuff that they did in Mario Paint, which is why I think it's such a cool game.
I didn't even.
It's like
Yeah.
I didn't even.
there are
I'm sorry.
those Mario Edutainment games from back then, like nobody wants to think about Time Machine or Mario
Yeah.
is missing.
I
But
do.
Mario Paint.
I want to think
Yeah,
about it.
okay. I like to think about them too because it makes me laugh.
Let's re-record.
But,
I'll bring them up.
Okay, goddamn. Anyway,
Gotta do the episode over now.
oh man, I forgot about Mario is missing, and now. Anyway, I think the Mario Paint's like persisted in a lot of ways, like kind of behind the scenes or like under a layer here or there, and the you can tell which people at Nintendo either worked on Mario Paint back in the day or obviously deeply appreciate what Mario Paint is. Those people
Yeah.
went on to make Mario Maker, and they went on to make WarioWare and Game and Wario and all these other things where you'll see like little bits and pieces of that DNA hanging out. I think that the sad thing is that the Switch was, or not the Switch, the Wii U was probably the console to bring it back on,
Yeah.
right? Like
yeah.
the game,
Outside of the DS.
yeah, or the DS.
I mean, I feel like WarioWare DIY gets close to
It
that
is.
Mario Paint spirit, but
you can do some pretty crazy stuff in that game too.
well, you can do the animation stuff like from Mario Paint for sprites. You can draw your own sprites and stuff. The music stuff is not the Mario Paint version, but it's very like elaborate. And it has a lot of the same like UI language and quirkiness of Mario Paint.
But it's like it's something that someone at Nintendo cares about, or it wouldn't be in Mario Maker.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's just flat out what it is. I doubt that we would ever see it come back at this point, though. Like wholesale.
yeah, yeah. Well, I
But
think
I've
something
listened to a
special.
lot of Mario Paint covers on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
There's some
people
real
love that
impressive
music
stuff,
editor.
dude.
People
There's
love
some-
that music editor so much that they made a PC version of it.
Well, the SNES sound chip is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, yeah. And it's just
Like-
the music thing, even if you don't understand music or suck at music or whatever, it's still pretty intuitive because you're just placing objects on a board essentially.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that one of the developers that worked on this game were Panel Dupont developer Intelligent Systems. So
Yeah.
I did not know that actually. So that
Also, Fire Emblem developer Intelligent Systems.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
what
just wanted to say
happened?
Maybe-
Panel Dupont because you gave it praise, but you don't love Mario Paint, so I want you to love it. So we're trying to draw the.
Yeah, something special about Mario Paint to me is actually the weird Easter eggs that it has, like the title screen being able to do stuff with the letters,
Yeah.
or like and not even Easter eggs too, but just like, you have the erasers, like the full screen erasers, but there's like several of them with different effects, and they all do the same thing, but they're just different visually.
Yes.
The stencils you can get of like Mario art to like color in, the save machine robot, which has been brought back. Like uh, you have like just it's just all this weird stuff. You could even the option to change the mouse speed is like weird, because you have like the turtle and the rabbit, and I think the cheetah like representing.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just the whole UI and like everything is just so like there's tons of like charm and stuff just packed in there.
Yeah, they represented the animation speeds too. Yeah.
Yeah, the animation speed as well. Like it was weird. You can have like take half of Mario's body like without his head and like put other stuff on it, because it was like a separate sprite like in the game when you were trying to make stuff.
Yes.
Like it's a very bizarre game.
And
the very bizarre workshop.
And I don't think we have the right people here for talking about, but like the Mario Art like 64DD stuff was supposed to be like a follow up to this, and I think I forget if it came out or if there's just like a ROM out there, but there's a lot of really weird stuff in that too. But
like they really wanted to go a lot further with that concept.
Exactly.
But I think the SNES one works so well because even though you can actually do a lot in it, it's still pretty simple. Like it's not, it's not to the point where like you can't just like start drawing something or whatever, and you can put together something in a small amount of time very simply if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think Nintendo understands better than a lot of other companies that put out like creation tools for games.
Yeah.
Like Dreams is an impressive thing,
Yeah.
but most people aren't capable of Mario Maker, let alone Dreams.
Right.
So like Nintendo like making Mario Maker, which is and something like Mario Paint, which is what I was trying to tie it back to. Like making the interfaces so simple to like make the creative work that they're trying to entice you to make by you playing this video game.
Yeah.
They do that in a way that's better, in my opinion, than most other developers, because other developers just go way too far.
Yeah.
Beyond where most people are even capable of working.
I think
almost to the point of like, why don't you just make your own video game?
Yeah.
Like, at no point during Mario Maker does it make me feel like I'm making my own video game.
Yeah. And, like, thing with Mario Paint, just to kind of tie it back in, you see shades of it in other stuff besides what we've talked about. Like, stuff like Game Boy Camera and DSi Camera, I feel like, have shades of Mario Paint in it.
Yeah.
Game Boy Camera just for being kind of bizarre. And then DSi Camera just in the sense of that you can quickly, like, play with a photo or, like, make something silly in it. And it's very intuitive and pretty simple, but you can do some funny stuff with it. Like, even on that level, like, that is kind of continued.
Was Game Boy Camera was the one where so you could, like, bring the picture into perfect dark, right?
I think you can do that in there, but Game Boy Camera, I'm specifically referring to, like, the Game Boy Camera, like, software.
No, I know. I was just, as an aside, sorry.
Yeah. I believe you can, or at least they wanted to.
Yeah, they wanted to.
I forget.
You could print it onto your character's face in perfect dark.
Yeah, and then shoot your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
what you want to do.
Yeah, but it's just such a special piece of software that you would think that most people would not really be talking that much about what is basically the SNES version of MS Paint. Or like kid pics,
it's way cooler than MS Paint.
Yeah, I mean it is, but you know what I mean. Like it's on the surface, it kind of just looks like, oh, this is just a drawing thing with some Mario stuff, but
for sure.
It's got a weird thing. Yeah.
That's why you just never judge a book by its cover, man. It's like there might be something cool in that cartridge. You don't know.
That's true.
You might have to kill some flies.
You might have to kill a lot of flies, or that bee thing with the tie that like shits out bees.
Oh yeah.
I don't know its name, but like,
I'm thinking of the song right now. Like I can hear the song in my head, just envisioning it. Yeah.
It just sort of like how he like he has like a seizure and then explodes, and all his pieces fly everywhere, and then Mario's like, "Cool, you did it," and then like jumps into a fly and kills it.
Man.
If you have no idea what I'm talking about,
This-
then you should
this
probably
is-
play Mario
This
Paint.
is the
That
plot
sounds
of
like-
the Mario movie. This is what they're going to base it off of.
That's yeah.
Are you
yeah,
sure that
yeah,
wasn't
this-
your Fly Swatter fan fiction? Like,
Well, the hand. You know what's funny? My sister used to be scared by fly swatter because whenever the hand got attacked, like you took damage, it would do that like face and would like yell in pain, and she found it really terrifying.
oh no.
So I think that's funny too. Yeah. But anyway, that was Super Nintendo. That was our part 2 for the Super Nintendo 30th anniversary, which was last year, and we're gonna count it as still going on because it's only January.
We didn't even bring up Link to the Past or
Yeah, we didn't even talk
Mario
about Link to the
World
Oh.
or Super Metroid. Or,
Yeah, who cares about those?
What are these games? I'll have to look up some long plays to see what they are.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Yeah.
is. I never heard of no Metroid. The only Metroid I know is in Kirby Dream Land 3.
Yeah.
Um,
Tender learned so much tonight.
I did.
yeah,
He learned about
there was a
Panel
lot.
Upon Garbage Blocks and Smash and
Yeah,
Samus and Kirby and
yeah. Now Tender's gonna go play Batman Forever, and no one should play Batman Forever. That's
No, I'm gonna go play Inspector Gadget and Hyperzone.
yeah. Let's go. So yeah, definitely we want to hear some of your favorite SNES games, especially if it's not like the normal stuff you hear about. Everyone talks about Super Metroid or whatever, and we're obligated to talk about some of that too because yeah, they're great, but there's so much more to the SNES library than just, the first party stuff or like the very well known third party stuff.
Like Earthbound.
We obviously can only yeah, we can only touch on so much. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you, Tender, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As we wax poetic about Super Nintendo. Thank you, James, as well. Some housekeeping real quick. We have a Discord server, and guess what? If you go to nintendopipeline.wordpress.com, we have a community blog too. It's pretty stagnant, but we have a lot of stuff on it, and you can get a link to join the Discord server from there, which is important. If you're listening to us, you're probably doing it on YouTube or on Spotify or iTunes, but we're on a bunch of different services, including ones I don't even know what they are. I think Radio Public is one of them. So wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you dig what you have been listening to, we would definitely super appreciate you subscribing, and then you can see what other dumb stuff we're going to be talking about next week and the week after. Beyond that, just thanks for listening. We will catch you next week. Muffin's going to hate this episode because it's really long. And we'll catch you next time. Good night.